Let me respond to Honorable Salam Musumba, who says, from her, I would want to say limited knowledge of war, that the one who kills most is the one who wins the war. No, it is not correct. I mean, killed many people, and by the way, these are matters that we don't even have to argue. We can verify. We can go and do research. We can count Obote who killed more and so on.
How many did they kill?
But listen. Let me just go. You win a war most of the time by denying your opponent the means of making war. The NRA won the war in Uganda, not just in Luwero, largely by denying the government forces the means of making war. Let us go to Vietnam. You can go and check Google. Americans killed more people in Vietnam, they lost the war. Go and check Afghanistan. Soviet Union killed more people, they lost the war. Go and check South Africa. South African apartheid government killed more blacks than blacks killed their whites. They lost eventually the war, and they surrendered power. So your thesis, if I may call it so, is not correct. Now about dialogue. Let me repeat again, let me restate. The government welcomes all Ugandans who want to dialogue on different issues. We don't recommend, however, that civil society institutions should be alternative to the government framework of local councils, for example, the Parliament of Uganda, the executive government of Uganda, the judiciary of Uganda. If there are things that civil society wants to add, let them be additional to the efforts that formal institutions of government are doing. We don't think there is any dialogue that can replace elections that take place where all Ugandans choose the leaders that they want, and those leaders go and implement the programs the people have elected them to do. If the people elected betray the trust of the people, after 5 years we'll go back to the ballot box, they can change those leaders. And therefore, yes, dialogue in general terms is okay. Dialogue proposals from civil society is welcome, but they should be addition, not alternative.
Do you think the current frameworks, the frameworks that you've cited, do you think they've been effective at all in curing the problem?
To a large extent, yes. Why don't we have full-fledged war or conflicts? Because I think majority of Ugandans do believe that once we go for elections, they may lose, they may have a disagreement, but they believe the outcome, and they believe that the next cycle will give them an opportunity to stand again. Secondly, we have the Constitution of Uganda, rather the judiciary of Uganda. When they have disagreement, they go there. They may not be 100% successful in resolving the contentious issues in the country, but they are working. We need to improve their effectiveness, their responsiveness. I just want to add, to tie that up. I want to challenge Birahwa Mukitari here. Why he thinks their civil society dialogue will be more legitimate than elected Parliament of Uganda, than the judiciary of Uganda, or than the administrative systems that the constitutional framework does prescribe. What makes you think that if you call people to Hotel Africana, Hotel Serena, and you say, we have a national dialogue, first of all, who are you anyway? How are you going to select who comes to that meeting so that you enjoy uncontested legitimacy, uncontested authority? And therefore, I think the best way,
yes, you're going to respond. Before he comes in,
if there are weaknesses in our constitutional framework, let us strengthen those through the mechanisms that are provided for. If there are weaknesses in the constitution itself, let's strengthen.
Before I bring in Honorable Mukitali, do you think civil society and other agitators for dialogue are advancing the real issues that would cause
the word agitators is yours, and I don't think they are advancing the real issues. I think there are other extraneous factors that are motivating them. I think mainly, I think largely, I may be wrong, I think largely they are receiving funding, particularly from external sources that do not appreciate our internal dynamics very well, because the same people who are pushing them have been around with us for 300 years or so. And therefore, many of them, if you look at the people who are pushing, they are people who have been actors before. When they were actors in the formal institutions of government, why were they not pushing for dialogue? I want to challenge, for example, Justice Ogola. When he was the principal judge, how come I did not hear him say, if people have disputes, don't come to the judiciary, go to civil society X and resolve your matters there? I did not hear him. Why does he think now civil society is more relevant, is more legitimate than the judiciary of Uganda in resolving contentious issues?
I will first give information.
Honorable Mukitale, I think that's very interesting.
I will first give information to the effect that in the national dialogue, one of the problems it will solve for this country is in the truth and reconciliation, we should at least document and establish how many people died in this country. Because the impunity we're having in this country, nobody cares, nobody knows how many people, how many women, teachers, children we lost in Luero, in ADF, in the north, in Teso, Amuka boys. No, truth and reconciliation is very important to own up your ugly past. Secondly, one of the major proponents of term limits and age limits is about accountability. So even for those who fear to account by omission or commission for the years they have been in office, the national dialogue provides not only for an amnesty, but a soft landing. President Moi, for example, cannot be prosecuted for his offenses. If they are raised, it's not for prosecution, they are just raised for truth-telling. And this can be provided. So we also need to assure those who are into things. You know, if you've been in government for 30 years plus, like we have been, and you don't want the others, that exclusion, we are talking of inclusion and participation. We are talking of coexistence. So if for us who have been around for 30 years, we are not comfortable to listen to the others, then that's the more reason why you need to include and have inclusion and participation of the others. But let me talk now of the agenda setting and who is the organizer. First of all, how I wish that ourselves, NRM, would have taken the lead as a government of the day to have this national dialogue led by us. The Constitution has requested for that. The efforts of IPOD has not delivered. So, for us now...
Yeah, but also is their framework. So
yes, now what I'm saying.
No. There are LCs.
Let me tell you, I personally, in this parliament, more than 10 times, I have requested, I have demanded, in the caucus, I don't even know, I can even mention, even to the president himself, to initiate a process of national dialogue, because I believe we cannot wish off the president as a protagonist, as the most influential person, as a fountain of honor, as a person in charge. You know, one mistake we made in going not avoiding a comprehensive constitutional review commission, and that's the other aspect of a national dialogue. National dialogue, after truth and reconciliation, can lead to a comprehensive constitutional review commission, even if it means reducing the power of the president.
What are the obstacles?
And by the way, it's also wrong. It's also wrong to think that national dialogue is about President Museveni. Can we also talk about the Uganda we want, the post-Museveni Uganda? So the Constitutional Review Commission we are talking about is not about. So I want to salute the eminent leaders. I want to salute the Professor Nsebambi, Ogola, the eminent, some of whom I attend the meetings. For if the one supposed to do it has not done it, all citizens have a stake. This country does not belong to NRM.
Or
does
is
not belong to
asking
political
why
parties.
they are pushing
does not
for
belong to
it in
opposition.
retirement. That how come they never spoke then, and today they feel there's that urge?
You see the problem. Democratization is not about fighting to be an MP or a president or fighting for. Democratization is something bigger. It's about democracy and governance. It's not about somebody fighting to be an MP tomorrow or a president or a head of a party. We are talking of creating an ideal environment. The reason why you see the semblance, or the equivalent of Bobi Wine emerging, we have killed the political parties. We have failed the political parties of NUSU, of UPC, which nurtured my Prime Minister Rugunda. We have failed the young parliament, the young Democrats, which were nurtured by DP. And yet NRM has been depending on these people who got ideological clarity, who got some training, because political parties are institutions mentoring future leaders with alternative policies. In absence of that, expect the ghetto to come. And this is what we did not plan.
Let me bring in Honorable Salam. How much of a mockery or a reality is dialogue?
Yes, we have a history to look at. I'd want you to start not very far. Start in Lancaster. How long did it last? The Lancaster Consensus, the Constitution. Go to 1966, go to 1967, go to 1971, go to 1979, 79, 80. We have no track record of dialogue. The most recent is the one of the Nairobi, under the same person we are talking about here, Mr. Museveni. How he ridiculed all that. The present dialogue, although desirable, can only serve one thing. It can only be cathartic, relieving, feeling good. It has no place whatsoever in Museveni's Uganda. However much we want it.
Would it be for the show, just?
It's not even value for the show. It is value maybe for spending money and accountability. But really don't waste people's time, don't waste people's hopes. Do not subvert the struggle to liberate ourselves. Because unfortunately, dialogue will not deliver change.
You are opposed to dialogue.
I am not opposed. I'm a very peaceful person. That's why my name is Salam, for peace. But I am being honest, looking at Uganda straight in its face, looking at President Museveni, looking at his face, and I can tell you guys, you cannot, and you will never. There's only one way out, to take him out. That's all.
Honorable Man.
There's no other way. Please let us not deceive ourselves.
I want you to weigh into the skepticism coming from Honorable Salam Musumba. Do you share her sentiment? Or in any case, do you look forward to the Africana gathering?
I don't think we should really lambast this initiative and start saying it is about the NGOs. The NGOs are trying to, whether they are religious leaders, they are providing a platform for, it is like you offer a playground for teams to play and resolve the questions that they have, who should take the trophy or whatever, according to rules. I think the most important thing is about who participates in the dialogue. I'm actually surprised that OO is also skeptical and talking about dialogue and so on in a kind of skeptical manner. As a matter of fact, President Museveni has been at the forefront these days of calling for dialogue. Personally, I think conflicts can only be resolved when they are mature. I think the events in Uganda are helping the conflict to mature. They say you can hit the metal when it is hot, or make it hot by hitting it. Either way. So if this metal of Uganda is not heating up quickly enough, we heat it by heating it. And either way, it is okay. I personally, I don't like anarchy, but I think we have reached a point where we have been pushed too far. And I think we shall eventually have to talk. Because the person who will demand the talk is the one who has the most to lose. I have said before on this show that all injustices have to be confronted in two ways. In a moral way, in a manner which lifts the veil on it and makes it clear that it is wrong. And then, in a manner which shows that it is dangerous for the perpetrators. It is at that nexus of wrong and danger that finally the eyes of the perpetrators of wrong realize that, you know what? Look at all the wealth I may lose. Look at the risk to my family. I have said before that slave trade was not abolished because there was a moral revival. Okay, William Wilberforce was there in Parliament saying this is wrong, it is wrong, it's against God's law, it is ungodly, we are all created in the image of God. But at the same time, the slaves themselves took action. They burnt the cotton fields, burnt the sugar canes. Some of them even killed their masters. And the nexus of those moral voices and the danger to the perpetrators of slave trade brought about the decision to say, you know what? Let's end this thing.
Okay.
used to say the objective and subjective conditions.
Do you look at a moment where the pressure will mount for government to succumb to the demand for dialogue?
I think the government knows that we are right. We are actually demanding nothing which is outside the constitution. In fact, the demands of the Ugandan people are the most modest. I mean, you have people saying free Bobi wine. I mean, is that something which is really free Bobi wine? Eh? Instead, you free him, then you arrest him again. So what is the government trying to... I don't know who is advising the government. You have a government which says, let's have a level playing field. You have demands like that. You have demands about tackle corruption in a meaningful manner. We want better services. These are the basic demands. By the way, the government can make the opposition irrelevant by tackling the real problems of the people. I mean, why would the opposition be listened to if the government was responding to the problems of the people? I think there will come a time when this conflict will mature because, like Honorable Muktale said, the voices are increasing. Those days, it was disgruntled northerners who had been kicked out of power. That was the rhetoric.
Now you have some people from Kamuli.
No, I was in Ibanda also the other day, last Sunday, and I found very many who now agree with us. And the truth of the matter is that we must not lose whatever common ground we have. I only wish to call upon the religious leaders. I heard the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda sort of saying, you know, don't entangle yourselves in politics. Actually, the dialogue is about political questions. I think our religious leaders should realize that we are not dragging them into partisan conversation. I don't want them to come as part of a delegation of any political party. I just want them to come and say, look, Norbert Mao, don't hate Ofono Opondo. You can hate what he does and what he believes in. Detest it, disagree with it, but don't dislike him. I want the religious leaders to come and say, play the game according to the rules. Don't break your opponent's legs. That is the kind of moral voice we expect. I have never lost my optimism. I mean, 20 years, we had a war in the north. Some people had given up that the guns would ever fall silent.
I'm afraid I have to move to Imam Id Kasozi. Imam, given the weak ground for now, suspicion, intrigue, history, what would be the alternative in the event that dialogue has failed?
I don't think that the ground is weak. We are just only imagining it, because we feel close. Because I am imagining why, for example, does not like dialogue, because he knows it will be
negotiate him on.
No, it will give.
Like dialogue, is that the reason I'm at this table? Does that show that I don't like dialogue?
The national dialogue now. Let me see what I'm. The national dialogue, because you are so skeptical about it, and you think it may not achieve anything. I think it can. The only thing is that the will of those that probably assume to have power, forgetting to know that they are holding power temporarily. Their predecessors have held it, and some of them more strongly than what they have done. But they have not succeeded. Finally, you either crumble or you agree and we move on. And those who are actually asking for it, they want it to let us go on. Then the other issue of saying it is it civil society. Civil society is not just NGOs. The academia is part of civil society. The media, you are not called fourth estate for nothing. You are part of civil society. No, you see, when we want to kill something, sometimes we just sideline the bigger issues in it. I know it will take long because of the problems that we have had, but it has already taken root. And the worry that who will come, that one is also not right, because I can come on behalf of the community of Mawanga, where I have been imam for the last so many years. I can come like that. And the community, because even the community around Mawanga, Muslim and non-Muslim, when I come up and say something, they will listen because of what has happened. Previously, the village used to meet in a bush. Now they meet in a compound of the mosque without any segregation.
I'm afraid we need to shift gears. But before we leave this, when you look at the current talk from government about civil society, you seem to vulgarize anything civil society, looking at it as a devilish setting.
Before he comes in, I want to clear one thing he has said.
By enemies.
Yes, he says the same sponsors who give the civil society are the biggest sponsors of government. They sponsor the biggest part of the budget of the government.
Why do you demonize civil society?
It is fear.
Well, first of all, it is not true.
It is fear.
The biggest sponsors of the Uganda government are the Ugandans and the taxpayers, and the government money that it collects is declared in public through parliament. The ones that you receive through, yes, the one you receive through civil society. Listen, I'm
very serious.
The one you collect through civil
society. And we count the number of boreholes which are there that are giving them water, and he tells me how many government has constructed.
Well, in my village, there are 3 boreholes and none is by civil society. We have national water of the government of Uganda, including up to my house. It is not civil society. But the money you collect, the money you collected from the money you receive from your donors, the civil society, you don't put on the public table for accountability. The one the government receives from its donors and the taxpayers is put on the public table for accountability and allocation through the Parliament of Uganda in accordance with the law.
You are just
But let me go to
No. Does that make civil society a bad partner?
I didn't say so. We take their advice, some of their advice, with a pinch of salt, and I think it's just right that we do so. But the other thing I really want to say, nobody is saying we shouldn't have a dialogue. I'm not saying so, and the government of Uganda welcomes dialogue. I'm saying any dialogue outside the framework of the Constitution, the laws of Uganda, should be additional, not a replacement. What we contest is an attempt to say the Parliament of Uganda lacks legitimacy, elected leaders of Uganda lack legitimacy, the judiciary of Uganda lack legitimacy or effectiveness, binding in law, and that it is the civil society which have legitimacy, which is the voice of the people. Yes, you may be the voice of the people, but your voice is additional to the elected people through the constitutional framework of Uganda. And if we think that the current elected leaders who are in charge of Uganda have let down the people, let the Museveni, the Maos, go to the people. 2021 is near. I don't agree with the Mao that the people of Uganda are listening to the opposition. Yes, they are listening. Some of them are listening to the opposition. And that can be judged by the relative strength of the different contending parties in the various platforms of government, elected platforms of government, or even in the contestation of policy formulation. That can be seen. So, Honorable Mao, yes, there are some people who are listening to the DP persuasion. There are some people who are listening to the FDC persuasion. There are majority of Ugandans, from what is available, majority of Ugandans are listening to the persuasion of the NRM.
In Egypt,
now,
Mubarak had won 99%
you can,
before he was ejected.
Yes, you can.
The people he claimed were supporting him.
Yes, you can do so. Finally, I think for the NRM, for which I speak, the NRM government, yes, there are contradictions that we must, as a government, as a party, pay attention to, so that we don't allow them to become secondary contradiction, to become primary, or even to become antagonistic and irreconcilable, so that the people throw us out at the ballot. But if we fail to manage those contradictions, let the people throw out NRM at the ballot box.
Given the contradictions that you've talked about, do you think the center is holding in the current times?
Chairman Mao of China, not this one, said that if you hear the sky rumbling and the ground is not sinking, know that the ground is stable. The ground is stable in Uganda.
We're going to take a very quick break, but I want to ask you the same question. I want to ask the entire panel the same question. Given the current state of affairs, do you think the center is holding?
Any government, however bad, is better than no government.
So?
And I want to agree with OO that if NGOs believe that there's something to talk about, let's go to the ballot box. Don't stay in the middle. The NGOs, civil society, believes that they'll stay safe in the middle and impact change through seminars. No, this is heavy-duty politics. They are just playing safe. I taught this way, I taught that way. No, go head on. This is politics. Deal with it politically. Solve political problems politically. Don't try to create a new environment which is not part of the durable democracy that we all seek. Please, NGOs, tell your brothers. Go support the voices that will deliver what we want.
Does the call for dialogue suggest that probably the center is not holding?
The functionality of all our political parties is in doubt. And this is because of the environment they have suffered. Political parties which were not formed with the intention of really nurturing political parties. The Tubejeko, the Katubalemese cannot be the type of political parties. The two extremes, I disagree in my contention. And that's why the other citizens who are extra politicians the taxpayers, the professionals of this country, the manufacturers, the academia, the cultural institutions where we run to, and the faith-based institutions when we are shooting at each other where we run to, are legitimate stakeholders in this country no one should wish off. And if us in government and opposition had actually used the iPod and the National Consultative Forum, the forces would be relevant. So the civil society comes because we have failed to do our role as government. And therefore, I wouldn't support anybody who starts blaming donors. If you want to know, as we are here discussing this intolerance, deals are being signed in oil and gas in Bulisa, over $25 billion. The oil boom is being discussed. By the time you finish this discussion of yours, the country will actually be, the NATO will have taken their oil, the other countries have taken, the Chinese will have taken the minerals. And
let me go to Imam Kasozi. In your reading of the current times, is the center holding?
Not as it should be. Signs are that it isn't. That's why you get Kaihura, incarcerate him for 72 days, and you almost not charge him. You almost not charge him. That is why the judicial section of the government is talking about tries people for so many years, takes a decision, and people are rearrested on the doorsteps of the what? Of the parliament. And then you keep them in prison for 4 years, and then out of the blue you say, no charge, the DPP has dropped the case. That is ridiculous. That is a sign where the center is not holding properly. Last but not least is where the other institutions that would be preparing government to the destiny where we want to be are all in the hands of one man. And the one man becomes everything for Uganda, even including the smallest event. You think that a chairman, actually a councillor in a sub-county would be the chief guest and finalize. It is waiting for the president to come and inaugurate. That is a sign of weakness.
Honorable Mao, when you look at the state of affairs, is the center holding?
If now even nyege is discussed at cabinet level,
we'll take a break.
The center is not holding. We have multiple organ failure in Uganda.